See, now this doesn't work as
It approacheth. It approacheth. Next season. January 2024. The Solo Leveling anime comes out, which I have my hesitations over, but I'm excited for at the moment. So guess what arrived literally, what was it, Tuesday?
the season finale to the Solo Leveling anime.
Yeah, so this book arrived Tuesday at 3 p.m. I had read it by 4, and then I went to hang out with Knick Knack at like 6 and gave it to him. And it is now Thursday. This was the quickest turnaround. I swear to fucking God. So I was really excited for this book. That's why I put this on a quick turnaround. A quick turnaround that just didn't happen. This has been sitting in the editing bay for like 3 months while I try to find a place for it to go up in the schedule. I'm pretty sure book 8 will arrive before this one goes up. So we'll see. Because of 2 reasons. One, a few of the scenes in the trailer seem to be directly referencing this arc, and just before it. And 2, this is the Jeju Island raid arc.
This is where the anime is going to cut off. I could tell just by the way the fucking, like, last panel goes. That last scene in this book is probably the last scenes of the anime. I'm calling it right now.
Yeah, that is the iconic. I mean, it is iconic.
Like, it comes just short of saying, like, I now understand this is the Solo level, and ending it there. Like, this, like...
Yeah, this is as close you could get to, like, the character being like, only I level up. Which is the translation of the title in Japanese and stuff. So I was super excited to get to this. And to be honest, while I don't think we're going to get into it very deeply today, I do have my reservations about the fact that the anime seems to be gearing up to include everything up to this and maybe including this arc, because that is 7 volumes of content and many major arcs.
I'm more concerned they have shit animated already for stuff this late. Because the big... Because, like, if this were the end of, like, a 2-core anime...
Yeah, then perfection. Perfect timing, right?
Yeah.
This should be the final arc of a 2-core anime.
Or even a rushed 1-core, this would be the final arc. But you don't typically see, like, episode 12, even, of an anime having scenes included in the trailers.
Yeah. So, yeah, but we're not gonna get into that super deeply. So, the Jeju Island Ant Raid. The 4th Jeju Island Raid... and the Japanese team. How are we feeling?
You're gonna hate me.
You didn't like it.
It's not that I didn't like it. I didn't hate it either. It's like I hate it. It's not like I liked it. I'm kind of middling on the raid itself.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess I'm thinking more of the arc as a whole, which included part of last book as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think my problem is, like, a lot of this, it went exactly...
Mm-hmm.
as how I kind of predicted it would go.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is going to be cool to see anime. There's a lot of action here.
Oh, yeah. I will say, the only... the biggest fault I find with this arc is that even though I love the webtoon format, first of all, it would have been... I think I wish I had you read the actual ant fight in the scrolling format, because I think that would have added just a tiny bit to the visualization, because I think that the ant fight is so hard to communicate without animation.
Maybe, but I don't think the scale of the fight was necessarily my problem. It was a cool fight.
Mm-hmm.
I think the problem was that I kind of... the entire, like, book, like, most, like, 3/4 to, like, 4/5 of this book is that. Like, one long fight. And I kind of... maybe it's because I've been sitting on this so long, or there's been so long between Solo Leveling volumes I've been reading, but I could kind of read how it was going to go. Main team kind of gets their ass whooped.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Solo Leveling himself walks in, mostly solves the problem, figures something out about his powers, and it looks like there might be a slight inconvenience, but ultimately he ends up curb stomping the villain.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the arc. There's a few cool things they did here, but, like, it doesn't feel structurally any different than any previous arc we've seen that included a lot of other hunters.
Here's the thing. The ant fight is not what I love about this arc. for me, it's the characters, right? And not even Jinwoo, not even our main character, right? But we meet basically all the most powerful people in Korea, right? We get to see them interacting in this arc.
Yeah.
We meet some of the most powerful people in Japan. We get to see them interacting in this arc. And we meet Thomas Andre in this arc, as well as 2 characters at the end who are a little bit mysterious thus far.
I feel like I would have been more impressed by the characters if they didn't get Vegeta at the beginning. If they had more if they were more involved in the fight with Mr. Solo Leveling and the Ant, I might have been a little bit more impressed by them. But they're kind of just there to kind of show that they're really good, and then be the people that get stomped by the enemy, so that
that's
Mr. Solo Leveling
obviously that's the Korean team. And then you have the issue with like what people were saying about would Japan fuck with the topic of this arc, because the reason why the Japanese hunters aren't with them is because it's all part of like a contrived political plot to make Korea dependent on Japan by decimating their S ranks, right?
Yeah.
And that's super, super nasty thing to do. Like, really, really terrible. I do love Goto Ryuji as a character. I think he's just, like, for me, the right level of, like, self-absorbed, conceited fucking asshole. Like, this man is so sure of himself that he cannot fathom anyone beating him, right? Except for maybe the strongest people in the world. Like, this man walks with balls the size of titanium basketballs, which he does not deserve, and I love him for it. Like, I genuinely do. I do love him. And then, obviously, like I said, like, at the very end, we see, like, Thomas Andre, right? And character going forward. Like, I've finished the series. I've seen more of him. He's important to me, but I understand why he is not. Like, this is like when Goto Ryuji was introduced last book and we saw, like, nothing from him. Like, you didn't get it because you've not seen him. Whereas I'm just like, character I like. And I mean, and then, you know, Beru is going to be very important going forward. And I guess, really, the only thing he learned about his powers is that his generals can level up higher than he thought. He doesn't actually learn much about his power that he didn't already know. I think one of the things about this arc that I feel like they spent a lot of time on the ant fight for him to essentially say at one point, it's basically just the fight with the Demon King from the last dungeon, which he did actually struggle with. Like, he did need help with.
And I actually really like the last dungeon.
Yeah, whereas this is just he's found an opponent who's basically the same speed and strength. And has realized that he himself has leveled up enough that this is not a challenge anymore, which is fine, but it does not make for the most interesting fight, because we know that he's going to beat the Ant King.
Yeah.
And we know that he's not going to struggle too much. The only 2 hunters I super care about from the Korean team are Mr. Fireman and Mr. Tiger Man. I'm going to be honest, I cared about them before, I care about them now, I don't really give a shit about any of the rest of them.
There were some okay moments. Like, I did like the part where they had that one hunter who was very injured and dying. I can't even remember.
T.H.E and the girl.
And they had her. They didn't have a healer around, so he off the cameras, revives their healer, and they like have this like kind of heartwarming moment. It's like, can you let him go because he doesn't like fighting? Just let him rest in peace, and he did. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
And I have to admit, I think obviously the way that the book portrays it is that Sung Jin-woo is asked to leave him and he doesn't, but the way that the reason why he summoned that character and the way that he treated that character once he was his shadow did not make it seem like he was going to keep him. Like,
no.
This felt very much like a Hail Mary. Like, I will bring this character back if I can, get them to heal our fallen party member, and then let them move on like they should. And then him being asked and having this nice moment was just kind of the cherry on top of the cake for interaction between these 2 characters who now have even more of an understanding than they did before.
My favorite moment in this book was honestly after the Ant Raid. It was when they had the person who can expand the limits of people.
Yeah.
And she like comes away eldritchly like mind broken from the experience.
Yeah, she's like, something that isn't him stared back at me.
And she's like, he has no limits.
Yeah.
What the fuck? It's one of the first times you get another character's perspective on what's going on with Sung Jin Woo.
Because he has gone through a massive change, and he is notably different both in personality, outlook, and appearance than from the first book. Like, he has a different personality from the first book. Like, you remember back.
Yeah.
And I think the added connotation of something stared back at her that wasn't him really helps put into perspective that this is not the person you met in book 1. This is someone new who has been shaped by...
There's something fucked up going on here.
Like, something really, really not right is happening. Like, and this is the first time she's ever seen that. And, you know, presumably, she's met a lot of people, presumably, since she does this kind of, like, on call for the government. So... I mean, I think, and then you add that to those 2 creepy characters we meet at the end, one of whom looked like the Ice Elves, and who weren't, and who kind of showed up after the raid, and all together you get a much more sinister picture of what's happening to Sung Jin Woo and everything that he's dealing with, right? Like, this is no longer just a reawakening power that he got. This is something actively fucking with the fabric of reality and stuff. Like, it's not right. Something's not right. You should not have a Cthulhu-esque being staring back at someone from inside your soul. You should not have that. Your soul is a one-person occupancy?
I think maybe my problem with the book ultimately, it's not... It's 2 things right now. It's Sung Jin Woo. It doesn't feel like someone, at least the way the plot is structured around him, it never feels like he's struggling too much with this. And the other one is the side characters, and this is probably entirely a result of the formatting I'm reading in. The side characters, none of them stick out to me right now.
Yeah,
and it's probably because I'm getting so long between characterization moments of them.
Yeah, it doesn't help that the ant fight was a large portion of this book for very little, actually. Like, I mean, it's basically 5 minutes pass, and it's literally half the book. I do think I do kind of appreciate the anticlimacticness of the Japanese team being just wiped out in, like, a second, with the exception of, like, 3 people survive. Like, 2 whole teams, and then Goto Ryuji, he's just like, I can fight this. Immediately fucking kicks the bucket. Just on site. Fucking on site. I love that. I really do, because and like, losing multiple people, I appreciate that we are getting a real sense that the people do not need to be enemies to die in this book. Like, people are like, people are dying. Like, this is not a he comes in and saves everyone. No. I mean, like, 9 people died.
I think it doesn't seem like, and this might be one of the reasons why between volumes it's not sticking with me as much. He doesn't really form a relationship with much of the side cast, at least not the people who's appearing in, like, a lot of these raids. Other, like, major characters dying would be more impactful if we got more of Goto Ryuji's sort of response to it, and he's kind of
headless.
Yeah. Sorry, not Goto Ryuji. I mean, Sung Jin Woo.
Sung Jin Woo, yeah.
Yeah, if we got more of his response to it.
But I have to wonder, and this is, again, I'm going to put forth something with the knowledge that I have continued reading, but there are other books similar to this. What if whatever Madame Selner saw is not just affecting the way that he levels up, but what if it's affecting the way that he interacts with other people and sees them? I mean, for example, I've talked about the gamer before, right? One of the things that was revealed part of the way through the gamer, right, was that one of the powers he had was called the gamer's mind. And the gamer's mind essentially physically forced his mind into remaining calm through any near-death situation because it didn't want him to panic. But it didn't allow him to feel emotions through certain situations. And that's what was happening. And that's not the same as what's happening here, right? But I just throw that out there as a... Perhaps this is why we're not getting as much emotional payout from his perspective. I mean,
it's a fascinating character beat, but it doesn't feel like we have another character to necessarily jump off of instead of him. Because if we're not supposed If he's supposed to become less human as time goes on, you still need a human to ground the story sort of emotionally.
Fair. And this is a single protagonist story. Like, we do not have a group of protagonists. Like, this is a single protagonist story.
And this is only kind of a good example. Not necessarily a great example, but since we have a lot of Fate fans in our audiences, there are times, especially towards the end of the Limited Blade works, where Shiro starts getting very like, the fuck are you doing? That is not how most people would react here. Which is why you also then have Rin to ground it and be like, yeah, no, what the fuck is going on with you?
Yeah.
When you have a protagonist that's supposed to be going off the rails or losing part of their humanity, you're supposed to have someone else to necessarily see that with.
Provide the sort of, here's what's happening. Like, this is how a normal person reacts. And I feel like sometimes we get genuine reactions from other side characters, but it's just not present in this book in particular. Other than, for example, like when the healer dies, right? Mr. Tiger Man.
And that was one of the better moments.
Yeah, because the two of them are, like, they have been friends for a decade, right? Like, they are super close. So the kind of the ending of this relationship and stuff was really poignant. Sometimes you see stuff involving Yu Jin-ho, his friend who runs the guild with him, or you see his family, like in the last book, like the reunion between him and his mom and his sister. That was super touching. Like, that was stunningly beautiful, you know? But it doesn't happen constantly. They're kind of peppered in.
I think there are moments outside of the major action points where it does work. And this is why in the last volume, I believe it was, where we had that, like, extra eye on Sung Jin Woo as he was climbing, was it the Demon Tower?
Yeah.
It's been a minute, but yeah. That's why I really like that character so much.
Radish Chan.
having somebody else there to
talk about how much of a monster he is and how it seems like he's not reacting normally. You know? Like, because when he went to her castle, right? Her and her father's castle, and their immediate thought was, let us furnish you with gifts so that the further the floors will let you through. And his immediate response was, I'm going to kill them all and make you the top. And she was like, what the fuck? That's not something people do normally. And he was just like, it's fine. Totally fine. Totally fine. It's not totally fine. My dude committed genocide. It might not have been a human genocide, but it was a genocide. But yeah, I think this book is certainly lacking in that, with the exception of maybe just one or two moments.
I feel like I wouldn't be missing this as much. I still do think that the fight felt like it didn't have much weight, which sucks. I know this is like one of the beloved fights of the series. I think like I wouldn't be feeling the character thing as much if I had read the previous book just before this one, or if I had read it all at once.
Which we have hit the point where I can no longer do that unless you want to take back the old books and reread them. I mean, as it is at this point, we are reading the books as they come out. And I mean, certainly I could go online, pull the official translations, and just split it up into arc and show it to you that way. But I kind of, that seems like a lot of extra effort I don't have to do when they're coming out in paper. And I mean, it may not be the best division of chapters, but is how I would split it up really any better? Not necessarily. I mean, we've seen me fuck up before on splitting up stories.
And like, this arc was not just this book. This
arc was 2 books.
There was another arc that happened in the middle of this arc starting.
Yeah.
So like, it's not a clean like arc to arc to arc thing.
Yeah, because I would say like the Demon King, the potion, and this are all kind of part of one arc. Yeah. So, you know, you've got like a weird like 3 sort of things going on in this arc, and it spans 2 books because of that. Yeah. Now,
I might love this moment in the anime, because if this is a really well animated scene, like the action animation snob in me might be like, oh, this is awesome.
Oh, this is where to spend the money on a fight scene. This is the fight scene to spend your money on. Like, do the Ant King right. Do Beru right. A lot of people also have fond feelings for this fight, though, because of Beru, right? Because Beru becomes a main character going forward. Ironically, the people going forward, the people who will share the most screen time with Sung Jin Woo will be his his shadows often, because his shadows have personalities, and we've already begun to see that across like multiple volumes. And admittedly, this book did not have as much input from his shadows. It's one of the few arcs thus far where his shadows haven't been given a fair amount of autonomy to kind of show off their personality and characteristics. Like, we know that Igris is kind of like solemn and loyal. We know that Tank is overexcited and eager. And so on and so forth. This volume, we didn't really get to see that, but going forward, Beru becomes one of them, and as a whole, we'll get to see them a lot more. Yeah. And Beru can talk.
Yep.
Which makes him a cool main character.
It gives Sung Jin-woo another character to bounce off of when he's getting action mode, which is desperately needed. Desperately needed,
because at the moment, no one can keep up with him. Not in South Korea, not in Japan, because Goto Ryuji was not strong enough. The amount of hate, of hate to love fanfictions I've read about Sung Jin-woo and Goto Ryuji, it is super popular on AO3. Just this like hate to, not even hate to love, hate to hate fucking. I swear to God, it's not even it's a toxic relationship, and I love it. Because I do read fanfiction for Solo Leveling. There's some good stuff out there, genuinely. Like, there's a couple of really good. There's this one fanfiction where it kind of takes a focus on the fact that he is becoming less emotional, and then it's kind of like a crossover between Dine-In Dungeon and Solo Leveling, where the premise is that he accidentally brings back some stuff from the dungeon, like a monster corpse, and he's like, well,
let's cook it.
Yeah. In the form of a YouTube video. Except I won't show my face, and I'll kind of make a joke about it being monster meat, so you don't actually know.
It's like at those how to make Pokemon videos were actually Pokemon and not just animation.
Genuinely.
But like it was telling you that it was CGI as a joke.
Yeah, genuinely. It is a really well done fanfiction. I very much enjoy it, and I've read it several times. But with that being said, I am very excited for the anime coming out. I assume you are also slightly hyped.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of this year is hugely action focused, so it probably will benefit a lot from an anime.
Yeah, so I'm very excited for the anime. You are very excited for the anime. The guy who did the 86 soundtrack is doing the soundtrack for this. Sawano. It's gonna be stunning. I fully believe that. I have no doubts. The animation, I believe in you. I believe in you. Was it Mappa?
No, it's A1. They haven't shown a single fight scene in the trailers yet, which is not confidence-inspiring.
I believe in you, A1. Do me proud. Do me right.
Yeah, at least the soundtrack will be good.
Yeah, that's true. And honestly, I will love any anime that comes out of this. Like, even if it's not perfect. I love this series in such a desperate way. So, we are very excited for that. I don't know if Book 8 will come out before the anime does. I don't think so. I believe Book 8 is scheduled to arrive in the new year when the anime starts. So that may be the next time you see us back with a Solo Leveling volume. So like, comment, subscribe, tell us how excited you are for Solo Leveling, because I know someone's hanging in there because they're also caught up and waiting.